have you noticed how connected the world has become, yet how disconnected people feel? You can scroll through hundreds of names, likes, and messages every single day and still feel like there's nobody you could truly call at 2 a.m. That's the silent crisis nobody talks about. Adult friendship is breaking apart in real time, not because people are bad, not because you're unlikable, but because modern life has trained us to prioritize convenience over connection, performance over vulnerability, and networking over loyalty. The older we get, the harder it becomes to build real friendships. Everyone is busy. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone says we should catch up some time, but nobody actually does. And slowly, without realizing it, people begin living emotionally isolated lives while pretending everything is fine. That loneliness doesn't just hurt mentally, it changes confidence, relationships, ambition, and even identity. But here's the truth most people never hear. The problem is not you. Real friendship today requires something the modern world discourages: presence, patience, honesty, and emotional courage. And the people who understand this will build the kind of relationships that completely transform their lives while everyone else keeps drowning in surface-level connections. Because in the end, success means nothing if you have nobody real to share it with. And the longer people ignore this crisis, the more disconnected, anxious, and emotionally numb they become without even understanding why. Never before have people been this connected and this emotionally alone at the same time. Men especially are growing up in a world where they are surrounded by constant communication but starved of real connection. They can message hundreds of people, scroll for hours, sit in crowded rooms, and still feel invisible. Many men were taught that strength means silence, that asking for support looks weak, and that loneliness is something to hide instead of something to heal. So, they perform confidence while quietly carrying isolation that nobody sees. What makes this even more dangerous is that women often experience friendship differently. Many women are encouraged to emotionally open up, maintain close social bonds, and express vulnerability earlier in life. Men, on the other hand, are more likely to build friendships around activities instead of emotional honesty. And as adulthood becomes busier, careers become demanding, and responsibilities increase, those activity-based friendships slowly disappear. Suddenly, men realize they don't actually have people they can talk to deeply. The tragedy is that most people assume loneliness means rejection, when often it simply means nobody was taught how to build lasting connection anymore. People are not lacking opportunities to meet others. They are lacking environments where trust, consistency, and emotional safety can naturally grow. Adulthood quietly changes the way people relate to one another without most realizing it. When people are young, friendship happens naturally because life repeatedly puts them in the same environments. School, college, sports, and shared routines create constant exposure. But adulthood replaces those environments with pressure, deadlines, survival, and responsibility. People stop building connection intentionally because they assume friendship should happen automatically like it once did. Men are especially affected because many of them build friendships through proximity and shared activity rather than emotional communication. A man may spend years around coworkers, mates or classmates, and feel connected without ever learning how to maintain that bond outside the environment that created it. Once careers, marriage, or personal struggles enter the picture, many men slowly retreat into isolation while convincing themselves they are simply busy. What they often do not realize is that emotional neglect compounds over time. Women often recognize emotional distance faster because they are generally encouraged to nurture communication and relational closeness. But even women today struggle under the weight of modern adulthood, where convenience has replaced commitment and digital interaction creates the illusion of closeness without real presence. People have learned how to stay updated on each other's lives without truly being involved in them. Social media convinced people they were connected while slowly removing the depth that real friendship requires. It gave people instant access to attention, reactions, and endless communication, but stripped away the emotional presence that creates trust. Men especially fell into this trap because many already struggled to openly express emotion face to face. Online interaction became safer, easier, controlled. A man could post achievements, jokes, opinions, or highlights without ever revealing loneliness, fear, or emotional exhaustion. What makes this dangerous is that constant visibility creates the illusion of intimacy. People know what someone ate, where they traveled, who they dated, and what they purchased, yet have no idea what that person is truly going through internally. Women often experience this differently because social media pressures them to maintain emotional and social visibility at all times, creating connection that feels performative instead of safe. Both men and women end up surrounded by interaction while starving for belonging. The human mind was never designed to maintain hundreds of shallow relationships at once. Real friendship is built through shared hardship, consistency, silence, vulnerability, and physical presence. But modern platforms reward speed over depth and attention over authenticity. People now fear being alone so much that they stay constantly distracted, never realizing distraction is not the same thing as connection. The greatest barrier to real friendship is no longer distance, it is emotional self-protection. People want deeper connection, but they are terrified of being fully seen. Men especially are raised to believe vulnerability is dangerous. From an early age, many are taught to suppress emotion, solve problems alone, and avoid appearing weak. So instead of expressing loneliness, disappointment, or fear, they hide behind humor, work, confidence, or silence. The result is friendships that stay functional on the surface but emotionally empty underneath. What many women often misunderstand is that men are not always emotionally unavailable by nature. Many were simply never given permission to communicate emotionally without judgment. At the same time, women also struggle with vulnerability in different ways. Many fears rejection, betrayal, or appearing too much, causing them to filter their real thoughts and emotions to maintain acceptance. Both men and women begin performing versions of themselves they think others will tolerate instead of revealing who they actually are. Real friendship cannot survive where emotional honesty is absent. People bond through truth, not perfection. But modern culture rewards image management more than authenticity, teaching people to protect their reputation instead of their interpersonal relationships. And when nobody is willing to speak honestly first, every relationship slowly becomes a negotiation instead of a connection. Most people misunderstand friendship because they confuse instant connection with lasting loyalty. Chemistry can make a conversation exciting, but consistency is what makes a relationship real. A person can laugh with you for one night, relate to your struggles, and still disappear when life becomes inconvenient. Real friendship is not built in intense moments, it is built in repeated moments. The small check-ins, the unanswered days that still lead to another call, the effort made even when schedules become difficult. That is what creates trust over time. Men often struggle with this because many are conditioned to prioritize independence over maintenance. They assume strong friendships should survive without effort, as if loyalty alone is enough to sustain connection. But adulthood does not reward passive relationships. Careers, stress, relationships, and responsibilities slowly pull people apart unless someone intentionally keeps showing up. Many men wait for friendship to feel natural again while the connection quietly fades through sea. Relents and neglect. Women often understand the emotional maintenance of friendship better because they are generally encouraged to nurture communication and relational closeness. But even women can fall into the trap of chasing emotional intensity instead of emotional reliability. People become attached to charisma, shared interests, or temporary emotional highs, while overlooking the people who consistently create safety, stability, and presence. The strongest friendships are rarely the loudest or most dramatic. They are usually built between people who repeatedly prove they can be trusted through ordinary moments. Because belonging is not created by finding perfect people, it is created by people who continue choosing each other long after convenience disappears. Real friendship begins the moment people stop chasing attention and start recognizing consistency. Most people look for friendships based on charisma, status, humor, or shared interests, but those things do not guarantee loyalty. The people who truly show up for you are usually identified through patterns, not promises. They are the ones who remember small details, check in without needing something, and remain present when, in life, it becomes uncomfortable. Reliability is often quiet, which is why so many people overlook it while chasing more exciting connections. Men often struggle to recognize emotionally safe friendships because many were conditioned to value toughness over openness. They surround themselves with people who can joke together, compete together, or work together, yet rarely ask whether those relationships allow honesty. A man may have many acquaintances and still feel deeply unsupported because nobody in his circle creates emotional safety. Real friendship for men often begins when they stop asking, "Who makes me look strong?" and start asking, "Who allows me to be real without judgment?" Women also face their own challenge in modern friendships because emotional connection can sometimes become confused with emotional performance. Constant communication does not always mean genuine care. Some relationships survive only through convenience, gossip, or shared frustration rather than trust and mutual growth. The people who truly show up are usually the ones who respect boundaries, celebrate growth without jealousy, and remain consistent even when attention is no longer benefiting them socially. Meaningful friendship is rarely found by desperately searching for acceptance. It is usually built by becoming emotionally honest enough to attract people who value depth over image. The strongest connections are formed when people repeatedly place themselves in environments where vulnerability, shared purpose, and consistency can naturally exist. Because the right people are not just those who are around during good moments, they are the ones whose presence makes difficult moments feel survivable.